Welcome back to another episode of JATalks. My name is Jassam, and so for today we'll be talking about the traditional media and how is it and why is it that they're losing money. And so recently we had Radio Jamaica Limited, the RJR Communications Group, would have announced that they would have had some shifts on Power 106 and Hits 92 FM. They would have pulled the plug on those because they're not making any money and they would have had to make some reshuffling. So we're going to go into that after the break. Okay, so in recent times, we would have had a lot of changes taking place when it comes onto the traditional media. Now, I'm going to read this excerpt. It says, Radio Jamaica Limited, for 9 months, ended December 31st, 2025, reported a 12% decline in revenue, totaling to 3.56 billion compared to the 4.05 billion for the corresponding period of 2024. Revenue for the third quarter decreased by 19%, closing at 1.10 billion versus the 1.36 billion for the third quarter of 2024. Direct expenses amounted to 1.70 billion dollars in 2024. It was 1.91 billion, reflecting an 11% year-over-year decrease. Consequently, gross profit fell by 13% to 1.86 billion compared to the 2.13 billion for the 9-month period ending December 31st, 2024. For the third quarter, gross profit totaled 542.26 million, down from 765.17 million recorded in the third quarter. So now there's a lot more. I'm not going to read all of it, but as we're seeing in the report, there has been a consistent decrease or decline in money. Right, money has been reducing, and they're making less and less money over the years. And we want to know why. Why they had to put the program Power 106. I think a couple years ago there was also Music 99 FM. I don't know if you remember Music 99 FM. They had to pull the plug on Music 99 FM, and so we're going to address that as well. Now, I want to say that this is not just specifically for the RGR. Sorry for interrupting the video for just a second, but I have something important to share with you from the director's desk. Now, we talk about the news, we talk about the gossip, but when do we talk about the solution? I spent months drafting the Resilient Jamaica Blueprint. This isn't just a document, it is a 70-page strategic framework designed to move us from past incremental growth to a transformative economy. Now, if you are a leader, an entrepreneur, or a citizen who is tired of the status quo, you need to see this model. The link to download the full blueprint is right there in the description and the pinned comment below. You can access it exclusively on the executive tier of my Patreon. Now, let's stop talking and let's start building. I appreciate your vision. Now, back to the video. Communications Group. This is also nationwide. I would have also explained as well, and also international companies, so like CNN, MSNBC. This is not just limited to Jamaica specifically. This is something that is happening worldwide. So, what is this shift taking place, and why is it that the traditional media is being affected? All right, well, what we're going to do, first of all, we're going to start off on the beginning. Now, we're going to be speaking to our Jamaican friends, right? So, for the first time, I'm going to, well, I lie. It's actually my second time. For this week's episode, I'll be back into my consultancy hat again. Now, I want to speak about what has been taking place since recently, but before I do that, let's take a trip down memory lane as to when we were young. And so, when we were young, we were only limited to TVG and CVM. Some persons were blessed enough to have cable TV, but for the majority of us, we never have that there. For the majority of us, we only had TVJ and CVM. I recall even when I was young and I thought that, maybe it may connect up if we had better reception, I could get cable. So I recall vividly, I had two zincs on the roof. I'm gonna take two wire. I'm gonna connect it to the back of the TV. I'm gonna go up on the top of the roof and connect it because I wanted cable. Because cable was the thing back then. I recall in CVM after 12 o'clock, you now get Nick at Night, and some it gave you a sense of cable TV. I recall my aunt and my grandparents, my grandma had cable, but we never had any. And so you always wanted cable because it connected you to the international world, not just Jamaica, but international world. Because if you remember, coming home from school, cartoon run from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock. And when 5 o'clock come, a JS a come on TV. And you don't really want to watch the JS. And what would annoy me as a child growing up, some of the time, during that very same 2 to 5 p.m., you have Parliament go on. And you know, so as a child, you don't really care about Parliament or a cricket go on. So the same slot where you want to use for watch a little cartoon, you can't do that because something else a go on. You understand? So that was a major inconvenience as a child growing up. I can also even speak about the fact that, for example, if you had church, you had convention, you had somewhere to go, you know, it's a digital rising star would come at 8 o'clock on a Sunday, you miss that. Or on a Wednesday, when you had to do choir rehearsal, Charmed would come at 6 o'clock on a Wednesday. We couldn't get to watch that. And so back then we were solely dependent on TV, and we were dependent on what would come on TV and the programs that would come on TV. And to be honest with you, not every time so what was played on TV or the program that came on the radio we wanted to listen to, but we really didn't have much of a choice. And that is the honest truth. We really never have much of a choice. Fee really select what we wanted to listen to. And again, you can't pause it, you can't stop it. Because remember, say if you have somewhere to go, one of the challenges that we would have is you miss it. If you miss it, you just miss it. You understand? You got work, you got school the next day, and you hear your classmate them talk about it. But you can't indulge in the conversation because you missed it. So that was one of the things growing up as a child. That was the traditional media. And so how the traditional media works is that, for example, primetime news on TVJ or Smile Jamaica, these are programs where a lot of Jamaicans are watching. And so the advertisers, different companies would want to pay top dollar to pay. So those time are premium time. We have to pay more money because they know that more Jamaicans are watching it. Let alone, suppose even a World Cup, like for example, Jamaica get the contract, TVJ rather, get the contract to host World Cup. You know, so any advertisement that's going to be played within those times is going to be very expensive. So those are a lot of things that we have to take into consideration when we're looking at traditional media. You also want to look at the fact that the upkeep as well, because for us as Jamaicans to be able to utilize our antenna and pick up TVJ or CVM, it requires satellite and scattered all across the island for you to be able to pick it up. And in order for that to happen, it costs money to maintain it. You also have to look at the upkeep. There are different personalities, there are different people. You have to pay them as well. You have to pay staff. So for example, back in 2022, when CVM TV would have employed Miss Kitty for CVM at Sunrise, Miss Kitty not cheap. Miss Kitty is not cheap. But they used her as a way to grab a lot of viewers because them know say a lot of people are going to now want to tune into CVM at Sunrise because Miss Kitty is there. So therefore, in order to advertise around CVM at Sunrise, you know, say expensive. Those slots are expensive. Here's the thing though. If it is that you are an ordinary person, you have a little soap business, you have a little, something you want to get it out there, you have a small business, right? You don't really have the money for really advertise to people like that. You don't have the money to pay for those slots because, to be honest with you, to pay for those slots are within the 50s or even the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you're given a certain amount of time. Yes, JMD, right? Especially when you come on to like World Cup or so, it's going to cost you or run you in the hundreds of thousands of Jamaican dollars to advertise within those slots. Right. So now, if it is that you are a small businessman, you want to advertise, you have to pick the cheaper slots. Now, the cheapest slots on those platforms or those programs, I'm going to use TVJ for example, would be from between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. because then the time that everybody is asleep, no real, no make no real program or real galang them the time there. And so what happens is it is the cheapest that you'll be able to afford. But those times, majority of people are sleeping. So again, the disadvantage for you as a small business owner is that if it is that you want to advertise through the traditional media and you don't have enough money, you don't have much capital to advertise, you have to pick the times where there's not a lot of people to advertise, or there's not a lot of people who is going to be watching. And those times would be like the illegal hours, the midnight shift, or the graveyard shift when people are asleep. Those are the times when people would want to, the small man would be able to afford, right? The challenge to broadcasting, though, is this. Some of the times you may be advertising and you don't get the message. You understand? Suppose a lot of the times TV I run and the kitchen, I cook, right? A lot of the times TV I run and people now look funny. People don't really care. That's another thing we have to look at as well when it comes on to advertising and the traditional media. No fair time people just not really business. And that is the truth. And so you find that with the traditional media, yes, it broadcasts it to everybody, but what is the guarantee that I am listening, or what is the guarantee that this is for me? So you're broadcasting, for example, skincare products, but me not really have no need for the skincare products. I have enough. You're broadcasting agricultural supplies or pharmaceutical supplies or whatever the case may be. So let's say you're broadcasting a product that deals with cancer, but me not have cancer. So that have to do with me. You understand? So these were the cons of. So yeah, they're the pros and then they're the cons, and these were the cons of the traditional media. Now, in the early 2010s, there was a shift from, well, there was the traditional media was still strong, making money, but then we had the introduction of social media. Now, traditional media would be radio, TV, and print, right? So the Gleaner, CVM, TVJ, RJR, Power 106 FM. They represent what is called the traditional media. Now you have the social media. What is social media? We know Facebook, we have Twitter, we have Instagram, we have YouTube, we have TikTok. This is what you call social media, and you find that you have a lot of young people gravitating towards social media. Now, because of that, you also have businesses and different people also gravitating towards social media because that is where the attention of the customers are. So now businesses were back in the early 2010s were paying Facebook, were paying Instagram, were paying Twitter to advertise on their platform. And so when you pay to advertise on that platform, you are now able to reach a different demographic of people. But then now, later on, we have something called algorithm that was introduced. And so with the algorithm, which is an AI product, the algorithm is now able to identify your interest. And now with that, you have what is called interest media. And so what is interest media? All right then. So when I looked up what is interest media refers to a shift in digital landscape where content distribution is driven by algorithms, catering to specific user interests rather than social graphs who follows you or who you follow. It is an era prioritizing content relevance and value, allowing new creators to achieve virality quickly, moving beyond a traditional social media model of number of followers count. All right, so this is what we get from the interest media. So basically, it is specifically for what people are interested in. So let me break that down as well. So let us say no, and everybody understands this, or should understand this, because like when you're on your smartphone, and let's say you're into shopping, right, and you're into buying the latest gadgets, the ones when you start Google it and you start looking it up on one post, you find that say every minute you just your for you page is showing you different gadgets, showing you different things. You understand? So if it is that, let's say I want a new laptop, and then I'm looking at the different prices of different laptop, I'm gonna start search it up immediately. Let me say I take a break and I go back on it. It is going to show me more laptops and more gadgets and appliances, because that is how the algorithm works. It works on your interest, and some persons may think it is limited to just what you like or what you comment on. No, if it is that you stay on a post while you're scrolling, you stop and you stay on a post for more than a period of time, that is recorded as well. The algorithm also records that as well. So it is not limited to what you like or comment or interact with. Yes, that plays a part, but also what you stop, and while you're scrolling, what captures your attention for a period of time. Now, how is all of this affecting the traditional media? I just did a full breakdown. How is all of this affecting traditional media? Well, let's look at Google AdSense. When you're recently, no, well, let me not say recently, because this has been going on for a couple of years now. What has happened on YouTube? When you're watching a video and an annoying ad comes. Well, here's the thing, right? So I'm going to use Google AdSense for an example. With Google AdSense, it allows you to advertise to be laser focused. Remember, when you're going to advertise on a TVG, on a CVM, on a radio, or that's a broad broadcast. So therefore, it just broadcasts to everybody one time. That's it, right? And so it broadcasts to some persons who may be interested and some persons who may not be interested as well, right? Whereas the algorithm with Google AdSense, because Google AdSense has the algorithm and the AI to track every user, so especially on YouTube, which it shows you what you're interested in. So again, let us say you are into agricultural stuff. So for example, my mom, she watches a lot of DIY stuff and ways how to incorporate different crops and backyard planting and all sort of something. And you're selling a product that has to do with that. You're selling a product, maybe a fertilizer that is going to allow you to grow your crops faster. I can go on Google AdSense and say, specifically, I'm selling this particular fertilizer. I'm going to be paying $10, which is cheap, and I'm going to want it to be advertised to only persons in Jamaica and only persons who are looking up things relating to agriculture, things related to fertilizers. So you see how it laser it down? So therefore, somebody who's into beauty products is not going to get that advertisement because that have nothing to do with them. You understand? So it provides you the ability to be able to get more virality because it is connecting you directly with people who are interested in that. So therefore, it is a lot easier. The profit margin and the profit turnover is even higher, is even better. Why would I pay money to TVJ, CVM, which may pay hundreds of thousands of dollars? So therefore, you find that it's mostly like a KFC, a Burger King, a Flow, these mega corporate companies that are able to really pay for an ad. With traditional media, you will hardly to never see a startup man, right? Or a person who just registered their business and them just a startup from scratch. A person who is working at a call center and they had like a side hustle trying to advertise through traditional media because they can't afford it. They will not be able to afford it. But with social media, interest media, and I'm giving the example of the Google AdSense where I can pay $10 or $20, and $10 or $20 can allow you to advertise up to 1,000 people. And you can, let us say, I am here in Jamaica, right, and I'm selling skis and I'm selling things that are specifically for winter period. Jamaica, my day. Jamaica is not a winter country. We don't have snow in Jamaica, right? But I want to sell this product, right? I can sell this product. I can specifically input in the Google AdSense to say have this be advertised to people specifically in places like New York, in places like Canada. Come on, know Canada is a cold place. In places that are very cold, in places like UK, and specify also persons who are looking up um, snow equipment specifically. So right then and there, it narrows the search. So again, I am looking for that, or I'm just browsing, and I get this ad that is advertising and showing me skis, you understand, and snow equipment. You understand? So therefore, it piques my interest, and I'm going to be more wanting to purchase this product from you because I was already looking for it. You understand? You have a better chance of selling to that person. Whereas me in a beauty product, or me, I'm into gaming, and you're selling me something that have not to do with me or nothing to do with my interest. And that is the downfall with the traditional media. Traditional media is more expensive. Traditional media does not guarantee that you're going to get a return, whereas social media, correction, interest media allows you the capacity and the ability to be able to directly provide your content to, or your ad to, people who are interested, who are searching, irrespective of the location. Because here's the thing, TVJ cannot produce, or correction, broadcast in a foreign country unless they're going to subscribe to One Spot Media, right? But TVJ, you unless you go on their website, you're not going to be able to turn on your radio and hear RJR 94 FM in Belgium. That is not going to happen. If you take a trip and you take your radio or you take your TV and you carry it across the world, whatever you pick up, whatever, wherever, depending on the country that you're in, it is going to be the TV station that is within that location you're going to pick up. Whereas the internet crosses borders. So you have the latitude and the ability to advertise your product internationally from the comfort of your own home. You can sell like a soap. So let's say you have your soap products and skincare products in a Jamaica. I mean, say, all right, then say, foreign people, and them have the currency, because obviously for them currency is stronger than Jamaica. So you can have a deal, a contract with Amazon, and ship your products internationally. Have your product on Amazon, and you create an ad, and you say, okay, then specifically to Google, have it advertised to those people abroad. This is the digital market. You understand? And so this is why you find now that the traditional media is losing money. They're losing the grip because one, it is cheaper to go with Google, and it's, by the way, it's not just Google. There is Google, there is Instagram. Well, yeah, there's Instagram, there is Facebook, there is Twitter. There are various different platforms. There is TikTok. There are various different platforms that you're able to advertise your products on. You understand? So that is why we have a shift, and that is why that's one of the part of the main reason why the traditional media is losing money, so much money right now, because really and truly it is so easy. And I know a lot of persons may be watching this. This was an eye opener for you because you never did know. So if I little if you have your little business, your small business, yes, you can advertise. I think a lot of persons, when we think about advertising, it is something big and so expensive because, again, when you call TVJ market, it's expensive. It is expensive. So a lot of persons who have done like a small business, persons may not, or persons would not have known about this, but now the opportunity is here to take advantage of the digital economy. All right, and thank you very much. That has been another episode of JATalks, and for the second time, I was able to capitalize on my consultancy hat. I know I'm supposed to do the part two. I'm still working on the part two video for Oil in Jamaica in terms of the pros. I think one of the challenge is I wasn't so confident in fully producing it, and that was why I have not produced it as yet. But that is something that I'm still working on, and definitely I'm going to have that. But yes, thank you very much for joining me for another episode of JATalks. And always remember, please never forget that your independence is the foundation of your liberation. Have a nice day, guys.